Welcome to this Beca Creates tutorial on how to create one of these super cute lace bows. I have hot glue gunned a crocodile clip on the back, so now this one can be used as a hair bow. So to create this, what you're going to need is a crochet hook. I'm using a 2mm today, and that's because I am using 4-ply. And the yarn I'm using today is by King Cole. It's called Giza Cotton Sorbet 4-ply, and that is in the shade Strawberryade 2470. It's a beautiful yarn actually. It's got shades of pink and white that you only really notice once you create something and then notice that variation. It's not so obvious in the ball. So what we're going to do today is we're going to create a slip knot, and to do so I'm right-handed. In my left hand I've taken hold of the tail end of the yarn, and I'm going to create a loop with the ball end of the yarn going over the top. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that underneath that loop, if it'll stop twisting for me. I'm going to take that underneath that loop, pull another loop through a loop, and then pull those tails tight to create a slip knot. Then going to pop my crochet hook through and taper that down to be a little bit more of an acceptable size. Now we're going to be chaining 6 stitches here, and we want these to be really loose. The reason for that is this end here, we don't want it to be too tight, too small, otherwise it's going to crinkle that bow in, which isn't the most attractive look. So make sure that we do these nice and loose. And we are going to be doing 6 here to match the size of that bow there. However, you can increase that by multiples of 3. So you could do 9, 12, 15, anything really going upwards. But do bear in mind you are going to have a thicker bow, and you're therefore going to need to do more length. So we've got 1. Remember, we need those loose. We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 6. So what we're going to do now is we are going to US double crochet, or in the UK it is referred to as a triple crochet, I do believe. And we're not going to work into those first 2 stitches, we are going to work into the 3rd one away from the hook. So we're going to pop our hook in. We're going to grab a loop. We are then going to go through 2. We're going to pull up again, and we're going to go through 2. We're then going to do exactly the same thing into that same stitch. Oh no, wait a second, no we're not. Do ignore me there. We've created 2 there. Now what we're going to do is we're going to chain 2. Next we're going to go back into that stitch, and we're going to do another 2 US double crochets. Now those first couple of chains at the start, the 2 chains that we skipped, look like 1 double crochet. So in a second, although we've only put 3 into this stitch, it is going to look like we have 4 divided by a 2-space chain. Next we're going to put the yarn over again, and we are going to skip the next 2, but we're not going to chain, we're not going to do anything. We're just going to leave that gap there as it is. And we are going to double crochet into that. And then we're going to do a second double crochet into exactly the same space. We are then going to chain 2. And we are then going to do 2 more double crochets into exactly the same space again. So as you've probably noticed here, the general feel, the pattern of this is that we're going to be doing 2 double crochets, 2 chains, 2 double crochets into each stitch, and there will be 2 stitches that we work on each row. There we go, we're creating little shells. Now to move on, what we do is we want to first of all turn our work over. We are going to go back the other way. We want to grab a little bit of extra yarn there, don't hold that too tight. We're going to pop our hook into that hole that we made there. Now the holes that we want to focus on here are the 2 at the top. This one here where my thumb is, and this one here where my second thumb is. It's where we've done those chain 2s. So what you're going to do is you're going to put your hook in, and you're going to slip stitch. Then what we are going to do is we are going to chain 3 here, and this will be our first double crochet even though it's not a double crochet. So then we will form our second double crochet. And for those of you who are pretty quick on working out the patterns already, yes, we are going to then chain 2, and then we are going to put another 2 double crochets into that same space. 2 double crochet, 2 chain, 2 double crochet. So I've only got the 1 in there, so let me put my final 1 in. Then I'll show you how this is looking. There we go. So now we're creating our first shell, and we need to do 1 more shell into this space here, the space at the top. So to do that, we don't do anything to bridge this gap. We just go straight into that chain space there, and we do a double crochet. And then we are going to do a second double crochet into that same chain space. Then we're going to chain 2. And then we're going to do 2 double crochets again into that same space. If my yarn will allow. That's the trouble with these yarns that have the strands so clearly separated, that unfortunately you don't always grab all of them. No matter how pro you are, you still find that sometimes one will slip off your hook. And that might be because I'm using cheap rubbish crochet hooks. So then what we do is we go into turn, and we've now created the second yarn space that we'll be working into when we turn. So we turn, we give ourselves a bit of extra yarn, we go into that first chain space and we slip stitch. This is just to keep our ends nice and neat. And then again we are going to chain 3. Then we are going to use that as 1 double crochet, so we'll now do our second double crochet. Then we separate those by 2 chains. Then we do another 2 double crochet into exactly the same chain space again. There we go, let me just grab some more yarn. So that's our first shell on the top. So then we don't do anything to bridge this gap, we just go straight into the second one over here and do a double crochet. Followed by a second double crochet. We then chain 2. And then we do 2 double crochets into exactly the same chain space. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to keep repeating those rows, the ones that we've completed there. And we're going to keep working that throughout until we've done 50 rows, until you can count here 50 of these little dots at the top and at the bottom. So there you can see at the moment I've got 3. And once we have 50 of those, so now you'll have completed all of your 50 rows. I haven't, forgive me for cheating a little there. So you can either now fasten off with one end being straight and one being a bit curvier, or if you want to make them look a little more like each other, then follow me. So we're going to slip stitch into that first chain space, and we're going to do all of these stitches really, really loosely so that we don't pull it and pinch it. And then what we're going to do is US single crochet, so that's UK double crochet into that first chain space nice and loosely. And then we are going to do another UK double US single into that chain space. We are then going to chain 2 lovely and loosely. Then we are going to do another US single crochet into this second chain space this time, and I've set up for a double there, so do forgive me, you're probably all shouting at the screen. We're going to do a nice single crochet into there, and then we're going to pop our crochet hooks into that last whole area there just to keep it nice and uniform, and we're going to do our final 6 single crochet in there. So now our ends are a little bit more uniform, a bit flatter. We've got 6 on each. So yours will be a lot longer than mine. Now what you want to do is you want to create this centerpiece here. And that is really simple actually. If you have done a thicker bow, you are going to need to do a longer centerpiece than I have done. That's something you're going to need to measure by eye. So to start that middle piece, what I need you to do is create a slip knot and tighten that nicely to fit your hook. We don't need to worry about being so loose here. And what I want you to do then is chain 17. And then what I want you to do is I want you to chain an extra 3 stitches. And then we're going to double crochet, so wrap your all around. We're going to ignore those first 3 stitches and we're going to go into this 4th one, just the top of it. You don't need to worry about grabbing both of the sections of the V, just one is fine. And then we are going to do a US double crochet into that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to double crochet into each of the 17 chains that we have remaining. Well, we have in total rather. There we go. So now I am doing my last double crochet, my 17th one in the row. And now what you want to do is you want to chain 3 to begin our 2nd row. And then I want you to turn, and we are going to double crochet again in this row, and we're going to go straight into that stitch that our last chain, our last double crochet that we made. So we've got the chain 3 sat to the side, and then we're straight in that first stitch. And then what we're going to do is we're going to double crochet all the way along, all along this bar until we reach the first lot of chain 3 that we did, and then we are going to do a double crochet into that one as well. So once you've completed that, we're now on to the construction, and the best way to show you how I do that, I think, is just to use a tape measure as it sits as a piece of fabric. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to fold your piece in half, and for the purposes of this video we're going to say that my piece is 10 inches long, so ignore that this extends any further. So you're going to fold your piece in half to find the middle point, and then open it back up, but just remember where that is. Then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to start to sit your pieces at roughly the same point until they look good to you by eye. So you want them to kind of sit like this, crossed over, both of them the same side. Some people like them to have a longer tail. Some people like them to have more of a bushy bow part at the top here. So it's really wherever your eyes are comfortable. Once you've got it set in a position that you are happy with, then you want to take that center middle piece here and you want to wrap that around so that it meets at the back of your work. Now the back of your work is going to be where your tails are. The front should not have the tails crossing over. They should be crossing at the rear. You should have the band of the bow sitting at the front. So you want to then bring that over, have those 2 ends meet, and by using one of the tail ends of it, just secure it with a simple stitch to itself. Then once you've secured that, be aware that everything can still move in there. You can still pull your bow out of place. So at that point, it might be worth pinching and doing 1 stitch through the top or the bottom to secure things where they are. Now the reason I say to do that at the top or the bottom and not in the middle is because you wouldn't be able to then fit something like this, so you wouldn't be able to put an Alice band in or a clip behind to hot glue it if you've sewn straight through the middle. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial today, and I really look forward to seeing what you've made. So please send me those images on any of my social media channels. And if you've got any questions, please post about them below and I'll come back to you as soon as I can.